it's Jen Suzuki, and I'm in the industry. I meet some of the greatest leaders out there, dealer execs, dealers, GMs, and I'm bringing them in the studio to talk to me about what's making their business pop, what's accelerating their growth. I'm sharing my own personal strategies for your sales teams, so I'm ready to get after it. Are you? Welcome back, listeners. So I've got Robert with us today, and he is a partner success manager with Call Review. This is a company that I use on a regular in my dealerships. I wanted to bring somebody who is traveling to the stores. They are literally in, a lot of times, Robert, he's working with more enterprise, so he's going to be in big dealer groups. So he's going to be able to see a lot of the biggest challenges that are consistent across the board amongst a lot of stores. And, his job is to be in a dealership and to find solutions so everybody's making money. And so anyways, I want to welcome Robert, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your time, your best practices with us today. Welcome.
Jen, first and foremost, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here, because what you're doing in the market, especially the automotive market, what you're doing for our business, helping to really cast a shining light on not only just the opportunities, but the joys of our space is critically important. Because if I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Matilda, I use it a lot of times in dealerships. It's hilarious because Danny DeVito's character, the father, he was the used car salesman with the plaid suit and the pimp pinky ring, right? So sometimes when people think of the automotive industry, they think of our space. That's what they see. So platforms like yours is highlighting the beauty of the automotive industry. So I'm happy to be a part to share. So thank you for this opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, the whole mission with this podcast is to bring guests like you on who are subject matter experts, who see a lot as they travel into dealerships, and to be able to share with us some things that we can learn from and grow from. And there's nobody better than somebody who loves the business, because, nobody would say what you just said. They didn't love the business.
So it's funny, if just to give you a little bit of my background, when I went to Mergenthaler Vocational Technical High School here in Maryland. And that high school, you had to apply to get inside of it. And it's a trade school, but it's specific to various different types of trades. So bricklaying, but the largest program that they had was the automotive program. So I started when I was 14 years old under automotive technology. Did automotive engines, chassis, electrical, which was actually probably my strength at the time. Being able to troubleshoot those systems. My wife is happy because I can do it at home as well. So, and then I graduated in 2000. Wow, it's that long. 2004. Graduated on a Sunday and started full time at a dealership locally here in Baltimore on that Monday. So I was in the parts department first. I was the inventory specialist.
Get out.
Literally. So, and I was in a General Motors parts department. So I remember. I even remember the groupings of the numbers. So I knew that if it was a part number that started with 88, 98, it was something that was going to be related to the chassis. I knew that if it was 2501, 0792, it was a PF47 oil filter and it used a certain type. So I remember all that stuff, right? Did that, ended up becoming like the assistant manager in the parts department. And then the owner came to me one day and said, "Hey, you work in service now." I said, "Oh, okay. Thanks, Bruce." And so then I ended up finishing my 13-year career at the dealership in the service department, being like the client ambassador, right? So I would write service, but I also would answer any question, sales, fixed operations, variable, didn't matter what it was. And I would support our customers that were having the most challenges. So the ones that, hey, I'm not happy with the service. I can't get in contact with my advisor. I'm not happy with the sales order process, whatever the case would be. I took all of those phone calls.
Okay.
And one of my customers was the chief product officer at Call Review. So that's how I ended up at Call Review. He was a customer of mine. So
he recognized the talent.
Not a flex, but I will say, 13 years of, you talking about the time in high school from now. So we're talking about almost 20 years of automotive experience.
Wow.
And then being able now to listen quite literally to millions of phone calls at Call Review. Being able to dissect them and go into our partners, to their stores, train their sales teams, their service teams, the receptionists, right? Being able to ensure that everyone has what they need to at the end of the day, delight the customer. Because to your point, if the customer's happy, the money flows. When the money flows, everybody is happy. And it's how we provide for our families. So definitely want to make sure that my role is as a partner success manager is to support our dealers and our partners in doing so.
Yes, and as you're traveling and you're in these stores, there's market changes that are happening on a reg. It's
No
something
question.
that keeps us on our toes, and
Mhm.
I'm guessing that you're probably okay. So if you were to say some of the biggest common challenges, these are missed opportunities, even for service department, sales
Yeah.
department, and you're starting to see these become more troublesome. What are these areas that you've pinpointed?
Well, one of the biggest pain points that we're finding is calls getting to the correct phone handler, right?
Yeah.
So we often focus about, okay, what happened on the phone call? And that's important. It's true.
Yes.
But
But where did it
dealers
land, first of all?
right? Because dealers quite literally spend tens of thousands of dollars monthly,
To get
right?
that phone to ring.
Just to even ring. So then
I
once the
hear you.
phone rings, so if it's ringing or is it ringing? Is it
Okay.
actually getting to where it needs to go? That's
Mhm.
probably one of the major opportunities. That's something that call review we highlight in our reporting specifically before we
Mhm.
even get to the phone handling. Because if it doesn't connect, what a piece of software is not going to be able to support you in helping the customer. Your phone calls aren't collecting. So and service is probably the largest
They
department.
probably get the most calls.
Yeah, I mean, like if sales gets to 2,500 calls a month, fixed operations on average is getting 25 to 30,000 calls, just calls. Like it's something ridiculous like that,
I
right?
believe that. That I 100% behind that. I've seen it.
So so just being able to, number one, getting calls where they need to go.
Mhm.
Then now we start talking about processes, right? Making sure that, are we actually following, capturing the opportunities, and if you're missing them, do you have a safety net in place so that you can apologize to the customer, make it right, and
Mm.
still get that opportunity?
Okay, so rewind. When you say that one of the biggest missed opportunities right now is just where the call lands, tell me
Yeah.
what some of the areas are that is preventing this from landing where it needs to land. Is this a technical issue? Is this like because a lot of times, it's a phone tree, right? Where they
Sure.
call into the store and then nobody answers the phone in service, so they hit sales and then they talk to someone in sales who transfers it back to service and it's not landing.
Correct.
And a lot of times, they look, the people are going to push the button they're going to push, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and we want them to go to the service department, but sometimes they're so busy they don't answer the phone. Anyway, tell people very specific here.
Yeah.
What's the missed opportunity? Why isn't it landing?
And the big piece to that is twofold. It's always people and
Mhm.
process. So let's start with the process first.
Okay.
Sometimes dealers have these IVRs, these auto attendants that are ridiculously complicated. So
Okay.
one for sales, two for service, three for parts, when really it probably should be one for service because it's so
Right.
much larger, right? Two
Hmm.
for sales, three for parts. So,
Okay.
but then when a customer selects the IVR, one of two things happens. It goes to another tree. So it's like, well, do you want new car sales? Do you want used car sales? Do you want leasing opportunities? Right. Then
Hmm.
from there, do you want a particular OEM's new car? So it's so broad that a
Mm.
person's just hitting zero trying to get to someone, and then they're hanging off
Uh-huh.
on the tree. Like we're seeing that consistently. The other aspect to that is the people. So then, regardless of whatever option you pick, it goes to a receptionist. All right.
Hmm.
So then now
Hmm.
it's going to a receptionist who is getting 25,000 phone calls regularly, and they're like, look, I can't handle this load. So they're going to
Hmm.
miss it. And then even
Hmm.
on the telephony side, phone lines are only able to have a certain amount of calls come in before it just starts dropping calls on the telephony side, right? That's where
Okay.
you get that fast ring. You'll get where it'll just go nowhere, won't ring at all. So you start to run into those problems too. So
Hmm.
dealers really got to peel back the layers to see, okay, based on our people, number one, do I have the right people on the phone? Because not everyone's a phone handler. You don't want just a body, but do I have the right people so that when they get the call, they're able to be a source of information? But then my processes, what does my actual phone tree look like? Right? Is it
Mm.
just every call going to a receptionist, regardless of what you choose? And then if it is going to a department, is it
Mhm.
going to a person, or is it doing like a round robin? Like, or like, where is it
Rings to
actually?
everybody. First
Where
one
is it
picks up.
actually in person? Like, and you have to know your each location is going to be different, right? Just like you and I are unique and different. Dealers are the same way. So based on location, volume, even the brand, it really
Mhm.
makes a difference as to how that tree should be set up.
Mm.
Once you can isolate, okay, if they're utilizing an auto attendant, if they're using it, okay, I have it in place, it's not complicated, and it goes to the department. In the department, I have a process that is going to ring here, then here, then here, then everybody, because I want the phone answered on 2 to 3 rings, right? You don't want to go in too long because customers, technology has made us impatient. I want my 4K delivered in seconds, right? So once you have those things in place, right, now you can start to talk about your people. Okay, Robert's great in person. I don't ever want him touching the phone, right? And then start to think about, okay, how can I stack my teams with individuals that are great phone handlers? Do I have in-store talent already? Because a lot of our cashiers, our receptionists, we call them our director of first impressions, they call review. They are extremely talented when it comes to working with the customer, right? Especially over the phone, mitigating issues, getting them where they need to go. What information can I get for you instead of how can I help you, right? Once you have the process in place, start talking about your people. It's going to help the customer out. You just got to take the time to do it.
So would you say that in general, if dealers listening to this right now and they realize they've got some of these same challenges, these are challenges you're seeing on a repeat, right?
Absolutely.
What's the first thing that they should do? I mean, how do you get control of this situation?
So the first thing you want to do is to audit your data, right? So you got to audit to understand, okay, this is my actual concern. So I see that we're having calls that are not being answered at all because of both people and process. So then you want to talk. The first thing that sometimes leadership fails to do is you want to talk to the phone handlers. That's the first thing that a dealer should do. Talk to your receptionist like, hey, what do customers experience? If I called you right now, what is it like? They can tell you exactly what's happening on the phone, right? And then you test it.
Okay.
Right.
Ask them, listen to what they're saying, because a lot of times they know how to resolve what. Yeah. Okay.
Because remember, when the customer hangs up in frustration, if they call back, they're going to still talk to them again. So they're going to know. They're going to know specifically. Okay, well, this is what's happening. They can give you an idea of how many calls they're missing too. They really do know. And so then from there, you can say, okay, I know my issue is not necessarily with our processes. That's fine. I don't have enough people. My service advisors might not be able to answer the phone and also write service in the service lane, right? I might be able to, I might need some other resources for that. Now, I'm not telling dealers to spend a bunch of money on people, but you have to determine if you have that need. Maybe you partner with a company that does like virtual BDCs, whatever the case might be, but you have to determine that first. You do that by talking to your phone handlers. They know and understand the caller's journey. Then you use software to be able to inspect what you expect to get an ROI, right? But you talk to your phone handlers first.
So you're talking to your phone handlers to identify what our real problems are, and at the same time, you're assessing the data that's coming off of these phones, saying here's how many missed calls we got. Here's how many people had to call back. Right? I'm sure so missed. You probably see duration of them into like the circle being on hold. Things like this.
Silence, overtalk, right? All of those different things. So especially if someone's picking a call monitoring solution, right, to get those answers, they should be able to provide that data for you, because all of that is going to be critically important into the next business decision that you make, right? You have to understand that, okay, this is how long it's taking to answer a phone. And then once we answer it, this is how long they're on hold. If every customer's on hold for a minute and 15 seconds, like that's way too long. You're going to run into problems. So yeah, absolutely. So you talk to the phone handler and then use the technology to, okay, this is what they're saying. What are we seeing? I see that. Now we're going to put these in place. Is it working?
So if you were to pinpoint some areas there where people really drop the ball when it comes to, okay, I'm sitting down with our receptionist and this person's getting bombarded with this and that, and she's, here seeing all of these missed opportunities and starts to highlight, hey, look, we have a lot of people that are calling in and I can't get to the call. It's just blowing up. I can't get to the call. So now you're able to say, okay, well, let's just tackle this one problem. We got to get to the calls. And so we start to find solutions for that. And switching gears just a little bit here. I find a lot of times, you're talking to this person, and a lot of times this person doesn't know what to say. They don't know how to handle heat. They are really just trying to answer the phone and connect it to something, as fast as possible, because it is a busy role. So do you feel that that's a missed opportunity of not helping this phone handler with a process or what to say or how to handle heat or how to transfer? And do you have any recommendations, best practices? So like
Yeah.
a lot of times I'm always like warm transfers, warm transfers, warm transfers, which I think in some cases it's impossible because the amount of volume that's happening, throughout the day, it's hard to be like, oh, you're looking for Joe in service. It's easier for me to hit Joe's at 141, boom, send, transfer, versus, oh, let me get Joe. Joe, Jen's on the line. I'm going to transfer you now. Oh, and Joe could be like, hey, Jen, thanks for holding. That's ideal,
Yeah. Yeah.
But tell me more about what you've seen and how you address these things.
So it's interesting that you bring up that specific example, Jen. So in many ways, our directors of first impressions is such a busy role. And in the ideal world, to your point, we could do a warm transfer every single time. The dichotomy is that dependent upon the makeup of the dealership, not even just their load, but the makeup. It might be impossible because I don't physically see anyone in service. I might not even be able to see my sales team. So what we did as a part of our receptionist training in 2023, especially when we went in store, we showed a picture of a Ring camera. Can you guess why we showed a picture of a Ring camera?
I don't know.
So
I remember this thing a long time ago.
So interestingly, we will spend hundreds of dollars to use these cameras in our home, right? Because we want to better understand where people are, right? What's going on around our house. And they're fairly, for the technology and the value that they provide, they're fairly inexpensive. So imagine if a dealership had at their command station with the receptionist, with the primary phone handler, with the director of first impressions, a way for them to be able to see each department.
Oh.
With just a simple camera. So now I don't have to look to see if Robert's has, or I don't have to guess if Robert's has desk. I don't have to call him, right?
Oh, yeah. I know what you're saying.
I can see
this
specifically.
Is money.
Unfortunately, Jen, Robert is with a customer, but I know that he would be happy to respond back to you. Would you prefer that I send you to his voicemail, or would you like me to leave a message with him? So now we're empowering the receptionist teams, the primary phone handler, we're empowering them to be able to make decisions, right? Based by just simply using technology that all of us are already accustomed to, right? So that's actually we've been telling dealers that, and if we get a lot of chuckles and laughs, but the ones that implement it have found that it has improved their connectivity significantly, especially because systems like that they use, like ADP Web Suite, integrate with different camera systems. So they can just pull that right up in their DMS and see all that information. It's right there for them. So they don't even have to download another program, learn another program. They just integrate it with what they're already using.
This is a great solution. I've seen many dealerships use this, and I haven't seen it enough. But I totally get what you're saying, because people want real-time information. They don't want to be put on hold. And that's the thing. You're now starting to tackle the problem of nobody's on hold. I can see what these people are, and I can say, oh, you know what? I can see his office right now. He's not at his desk. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? You're giving him options. We're moving it forward. Love this.
So that's one.
Okay. You got more up the sleeve? Yeah, you got more up the sleeve?
The second piece to that is there's ways in which that we can also empower receptionists to be able to get information to each other, to get to information to like managers and other salespeople relatively quickly. Did you know that from an email, you can send a text message?
From an email, you can send a text message.
So if you were to open up Outlook today, there is a generic lead address similar to what we use in CRM for CRM integration, that when you send it, when you put that lead in first before the number, it will actually send as a text message a note that you're sending. So if I'm trying to get some, like, hey, I got customer information, I'm gonna just send it to you in a text real quick. I don't want to use for some reason, I don't want to use my phone. I don't have my phone. Pull up my email real quick, shoot you an email, and it comes to your cell phone as a text message. So now you can quite literally get it, and you have this information right here. I text it to you. So you say, okay, boom, I'm going to go ahead and call this customer. Now you know you should. No problem. I understand.
I'm choking to death.
It's winter time. I just want to make sure that you're not choking.
Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I'm still alive.
Oh, good.
Okay, you were saying.
So essentially, it allows the phone handler, the director of first impressions, receptionist,
Mhm.
BDC, whatever. It allows them to be able to get a quick note with information to a salesperson, a sales manager, really quickly without the need of having to use their own phone or anything like that. Because emails get easily ignored, you're going to answer a text message.
Agreed. So are you saying that let's just say you have a caller that calls in, they're looking for their advisor, they want a status update.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can't get a hold of this person. So
You,
I'm sending a text to the advisor just with a note of who this person is and what is what they want.
Yep, and even using the email platform, there's just a lead address for every provider. So for AT&T,
Yeah.
for T-Mobile, for Sprint, and
It's
using
just
that,
easier to get the message done that way versus yeah,
trying to
okay.
handwritten note, trying to get up, put on a desk.
Right.
Only time you take the handwritten note, maybe they look at it, maybe they don't. Now you're
Okay.
sending it to their phone, and you can continue. So maybe the advisor truly is so busy you can't get them. You
That's
can
true.
now take that same information and pass that along to the manager. Like, hey, you got to support your team member because they have customers looking for answers. They need some support. And so now the manager, which is their job to manage, right? It gives them
Mhm.
the opportunity to be able to mitigate bad CSI. They can follow with the customer like, hey, Rob's been, he's been working really heavily. However, he's
Uh-huh.
talked to me about your vehicle. This is what we found. So
Uh-huh.
it just provides a way to, again, find some ways to communicate with our customers differently.
I think, and that's a relevant thing too, because I think all of us are used to getting a text message faster than an email. And
Yep.
I think that that's identifying a solution to a very big problem and how we communicate messages to people. And, a lot of times, when people, so for me, I'm in the dealerships every week and I use call review because I like the call tracking part of it. For both
Yeah.
service and sales, it gives me a pulse on what the processes are, as you
Mhm.
mentioned, being an
Yep.
important thing. I want to hear what the processes are. Because if I can hear something that's repeating itself over and over and over, it's easier for me to come in and train on that versus trying to train on stuff that they already know.
You
And so
got it.
it becomes a little bit more effective and time efficient, for all of us. In any event, a lot of times I see the call tracking and I say, all right, look, I'm listening to the calls, but one of the things that I really enjoy is the efficiency of being able to, have a system that highlights words, that are words that can what my kids would always say, they'd be like, red flag. I'm like, okay, I love
Yeah.
red flag. Yeah, because red
Yeah.
flag's like, we got a problem. And if
Mhm.
I can figure out, how to solve as many problems as I can in the customer experience, then everybody wins and customers feeling really good. They always want to come back and continue to do business with us. But, a
Absolutely.
lot of times with call tracking, I'm listening for process and in broken process, oftentimes things that are missing that I could easily go in and I'm wondering, if you could share a little bit about that, because for me, this is a big problem, and this is an easy solution too, is to be able to read some of the missed messages that are coming in. A lot of times I hear a lot of missed messages. I would pinpoint that as one of the biggest problems that I see in the dealerships. And even for me personally, when I recently tried to schedule a service appointment, they put me right into the guy's voicemail. And it's like, okay, no, I hope and pray he calls me back, but I kind of want to talk to somebody else if I could. I
Yeah.
really don't want to hang up the phone and call back. But if somebody at the dealership saw that I hit the guy's voicemail and I'm like, hey, I need to talk to you within the hour. I'm traveling. I'm about to hit a plane. I kind of need some. Then if it flags certain words and it alerts somebody, then
Yeah.
maybe I don't wait on hold for the next hour.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we're really big at call review. You probably even heard some of our other team members say that we literally are for dealers by dealers. And that's not hyperbole. Call review quite literally started because our founder, a dealer, right, was he got some good advice from a vendor and it made him listen to his calls and he realized, yeah, we've got significant opportunities.
Uh-huh.
And really in the example that you highlighted, that's one of the things we actually report on that twofold. So we give you a
Okay.
voicemail report, number one. So,
Uh-huh.
hey, this is the call that went to voicemail, but this was what was said in the voicemail. But then we
Mhm.
also will give our partners the ability to do custom keyword alerting, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
if a
So that's
customer says,
custom.
oh, absolutely. So if it's something said on the call, voicemail or not, once
Mhm.
it's heard, our AI flags it and we'll send you an alert like, hey, customer said X based upon what you designed you want the word to be. So we do have some partners that they want to hear obviously specials, campaigns, stuff like that. But
Okay.
sometimes they want to hear words, phrasing that customers use when they're irate, right?
Yeah.
So you might want to hear if someone
I
says this is
want help now. I want to speak to
now.
somebody right away. Now.
Now, like,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
When you start to
Yeah.
stuff like that, and maybe even some choice four-letter words, right? So they set that up so that when it's heard on the call, they know they give those alerts go to their first responders, right?
Mm.
So dealers listening to this podcast, you don't see it because I'm sitting in the chair, but if I had knee pads, quite literally, I'd beg you, please, you need to determine who your first responders are to the dealership. That might not be the GM because he's got to run the entire org, right? Your
Totally.
first responder is someone that can, to your point, when they see, man, Jen's been trying to get in contact with Rob, I'll deal with why Rob isn't responding back to her later. Right now, I need to respond to her, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whoever the first responder is going to be, they should be the ones getting those alerts. They should have alerts coming to them, email, text, whatever, CRM, whatever. Get them so that they can respond and recover the customer quickly.
Let me ask you something, Robert. So for me, this sounds like one of the most important roles in a dealership. Is this a customer service team? Is this a sales manager for the sales department? Is this like a BDC director? Who would you suggest are in these roles, and where do you see these roles? How do these roles look and appear? Who are these people in the stores that are totally killing this game?
So the ones that are absolutely killing it, they have either individuals that they call client ambassadors or a customer relations manager. That person reports to sales managers, right? To fixed ops directors, right? Because their sole responsibility is to ensure that they are an advocate for the customer, right?
Okay.
They have no skin in the game obviously they want the dealership to succeed, but their responsibility is to ensure that they are an advocate to the customer. Dealers that have that person in place are uber successful because it does two things. One, that's the first responder to the customer and they can respond quickly, right? Secondly, it allows managers, directors, executive leadership, owners, it allows them to perform the functions they are supposed to perform.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Love this.
Now they can manage teams. Now we still want them involved in the customer experience on some level, but think of it. If you have a person that's bubbly, right? They're very pleasant, they're kind, and you're talking to them. They can't solve your problem, but they can get you where you need to go to fix it. It helps you as a customer. What it is there's actually psychology behind it. So as humans, we all have a natural threat response, right? It happens in every single interaction. It's why fight or flight exists. So customers, when we're supporting them, they are determining whether they can trust us or not, and their threat response is at its highest, right? That's why you can say, "Thank you for calling Call Review Motors. This is Robert in sales. What information can I get for you?" And they heard none of that. They're just waiting for you to be quiet so they can tell you what they need. We found that once you have a person that's geared specifically to support that end user with their concern, it lowers that natural threat response almost immediately. So it increases CSI, and then it allows the customer it encourages them to want to trust and to do business with the dealer. So that person needs to be the client ambassador, customer relations manager. That's what they need to be. Sales managers can monitor the call monitoring. Obviously, we want them to do that. We want them involved there. But when it comes to that first responder to when there's an issue or a challenge, whether it's post-sale, post-service, didn't set an appointment for one reason or another, broken promise, Rob said he was going to call me back and he never did. That first responder has to be in place. And in my opinion, and from what we're seeing at our top performing dealers, it does need to be someone separate than a sales manager. BDC manager maybe, but someone separate than a sales manager, than a GM, than a fixed ops director, because that frees them to do what they do. And now you have a resource geared specifically to the success and the delighting of a customer.
Is this a new role?
It is not. It is not. It's just what happens is that in the automotive industry, this role is just being adopted fairly recently, right?
Okay.
So if you go, interestingly, my appendix almost burst on me. I just thought I was having a tummy ache. But then when my wife forced me to go to the doctor, and when I went to the doctor, she touched my side and put me on the floor. So then I went to the hospital, and I met a client ambassador at the hospital.
Okay.
He sat there, and all his only job was to make sure that I was okay, that I knew the paperwork I was filling out. He gave me blankets in case I was cold, right? His role was just to ensure that I was happy. And I was really shocked by that. but hospitals, dentist office, these other industries have been doing it for decades, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just becoming something that the automotive industry is seeing.
I was recognizing.
Yeah, like and especially like OEMs like Subaru in particular, they've really
Mm-hmm.
kind of adopted this methodology. They have like
Yes.
concierges and stuff like
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no reason that every other OEM, every other dealer can't benefit from that same type of level of service, right?
Yeah, and it makes total sense too, because let me tell you, a lot of times we put this on our sales managers' laps, which look, you got to do what you got to do. If that's what the resources you got, then you got something's better than nothing.
True.
But a lot of times, you run the risk of a sales manager coming out of a deal that should have been, didn't happen. I'm spent. You got me crapped out, and then I'm supposed to
Yep.
handle some heat, at a level 10 and get these people down to a level 7 and get them on board. I'm already, spun out. So
Exactly.
you're asking for a lot from people, when it's not realistic that you can stay in the
Yeah.
game, 24/7 and be a positive
It's hard.
vibes to people. It's a
It's
car
hard.
business and it's tough. It's a lot of heat,
Mm-hmm.
especially in service.
And realistically, like, and this is part of Call Review's training methodology. Every time we go
Mhm.
to a dealer, regardless of the group that we're speaking to, fixed
Mhm.
ops, variable ops, receptionists, whoever, we reiterate to the management team every single time that outside you have different softwares, you're going to have these different things. The most
Mhm.
valuable resource and commodity that you have are your
Mhm.
people,
Mm.
right? You
Mhm.
have to take care of your people because
Yeah.
they will then be willingly, not under compulsion, but they will, and not under trying to get some dishonest gain, but eagerly
Mhm.
and willingly, they will take care of your customer.
Mhm.
Got to take care of your people.
So let me ask you something. Easier said than done in some
Very much so.
cases.
Very much so.
But you're going and you're traveling into dealerships and you guys are also, I'm guessing you provide some level of dealer education. You've got to give them these tools. Tell me
Yeah.
more about how you support dealers with giving them the training, the tools, the support for their people.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we mentioned it briefly early on in our discussion. We do host monthly webinars that are
Okay.
specific on various topics. In 2024, we're shifting gears from just overall phone skills
Mm-hmm.
to industry trends and how dealerships, leadership, management can take advantage of that to support the customer, be it AI, be it just reflecting back on processes, all of these different things. So that's one way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Additionally, we provide online training that's geared exactly the way the OEMs do it, right? Every
Mm-hmm.
OEM, when I was with the GM dealer, we had Global Connect. When I was with Honda, we had Honda's
Mm-hmm.
Interactive Network. They all provide some level of training. So we do the same thing with a self-paced online university that dealers can log into at any single time to be able to ensure that, okay, based on these topics, be it outbound conversations, overcoming objections, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Putting myself in the right, using psychology and
Mm-hmm.
technology to humanize the experience for the end user, right? We provide all of that at on a self-paced platform so they can do it at their leisure. And even within our own platform, when you go to the employee scorecard, based on the
Mm-hmm.
various different insights we're collecting, I can say that, okay, I'm the sales professional. I can say, okay, on each one of these insights, am I doing them on every single phone call? And if not, if
Yeah.
there's a particular area of opportunity, something that I'm struggle with, something I'm just not
Mm-hmm.
good at, I can watch some
Mm-hmm.
quick tips to see what are some things I can do today to
Okay.
change to go on going forward. And then dedicated account management. Every dealership gets a dedicated account manager. Robert's job is to ensure that you're getting everything you need from our service
Mm-hmm.
so that we're not just a vendor, we're your partner to the success and ultimately the delighting of the customer.
I love that. Look, I mean, there's not enough support and education on a lot of the tools that dealers buy. I see it all the time. I see a lot of tools in the dealership. I said, why aren't you using them? I don't know how to
Mhm.
use it. That's the reason why I ask you that because, getting people to change and adopt, and even you sharing some of these really great like insights and really thought provoking actions that dealers can take to solve some of the biggest problems out there. Look, I mean, I'm sitting back here and I'm saying, all right, I'm thinking about my clients that are not doing these things. And how would they react if they heard somebody say this? And adoption is kind of
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah.
So even when you recognize some of these problems, I'm sure you're faced with so the challenges of, oh shit, we got to change, you
Or
know?
doctor.
And what does that look like? Who's going to
Yeah.
hold my hand? Who's going to show me how to do this, you know? And then,
Yeah.
and it's not like anything ever happens the way that it's supposed to happen the first time. You know, it takes navigating. You're talking about people here, real people that are part
Yeah.
of this equation. And you said it a million times, you know, the people in the process, these are some of the key factors here for successful outcomes. So how do you address some of the challenges of adopting new technology, adopting new sales process, adopting new roles in the equation to address heat, adopting AI, highlighting keywords,
Mhm.
and having a system in place, as you mentioned, you know, as our first responders, who's second in line, who's third in line, like our processes. How do you address these things?
So you have to do so through really a consistent phased approach, right?
Love that.
So
Don't do
for
it
in-
all at once.
don't do it all at once, right? So one of the things
Gotcha.
that I learned early on when trying to be, because I was on a lot of levels call reviews client ambassador for a very long time, and
Mhm.
one of the things that I learned talking to customers that had like the highest risk of just whether it was just being of customers being unsatisfied, like not setting appointments. One of the things that I learned is the more that I gave them, the less they actually did. Right.
Uh,
So I can identify 10 different things you
totally
need to
get
work,
that.
10 things
Mhm,
you need to work on, whatever. We're
mhm,
going to focus on just this one thing.
mhm,
And quite literally, I'm going to hold your hand through it. So
mm,
your team is struggling with this particular thing. I am going to provide some training, collateral, and then I'm going to just ask them, man, look, how do you feel about it? I think that's one of the biggest things too, is just that the investment in the people. So because
mhm.
people are people and life be lifing. So you can't, it's just people, they're not robots. They're not going to just change at the drop of a hat.
Exactly.
But if you phase it in, like, hey, listen, let me give you the reasons why we're going in this direction. Here's some of the benefits that we can see. I want you to try it one time. It works.
Mm,
And now you're reinforcing, oh my goodness, you see how that worked out for you? Think about how it's benefiting you. And then when they see it for themselves, they become
mhm,
more willing to adapt it. But it requires a little bit of tender loving care. But that's
mm,
important because if we're going to be partners, if we're going to change the customer perception of the automotive space, we have to do it together. We can't do it without the dealers. And I'm confident that the dealers won't have the level of success without partnering with someone like you, someone like
mhm.
us. They're not going to, they'll get some success because they're good at what they do. But to be able to
Yes.
truly delight a customer through and
Mm,
through, you do it through a phased approach, one thing at a time,
love
30
it.
days in, 30 days
Mhm,
out, right?
mm.
Right.
Okay.
And we just each time. So now that you have this strength, now that I can do 20 push-ups, right? Now I'm going to go to 20 body weight squats. Now that I can do 20
Mhm,
body weight squats, I can still do the 20 push-ups because I'm still doing that. Now I can do
mhm,
20, I can do these chins. I can do 20 chin-ups. Now I
mhm,
can do these. Now I'm gonna add 20 burpees. At some point,
mhm.
I'm going to be the next CrossFit athlete because I'm systematically doing these things at a phased approach at a slower rate, but a very deliberate rate that's going to make
Yeah.
the most sense to have progression. So that's how we at Call Review get adoption from our
Mm.
partners. It's never just, all right, boom, I'm not going to tell you your baby's ugly. Slow phased approach, right?
Right.
Hey, just wipe the oatmeal off your baby's face,
Right,
right?
right, right,
We're gonna do
right, right.
a slow approach, and then we're going to post-mortem. How are we
Okay.
doing? Is it working? Do we need to make adjustments and be malleable enough and supportive enough to make those changes as needed?
Yeah, that's really realistic. Yeah, I bet you I'm just like every other dealer out there. When I see a problem, I want to fix it and I want it to happen right now. And I want results today. You know, otherwise it's crap. It's not
Yeah.
working. Get rid of it. But a lot of times, you know, I am reminded, even in my own practice of sales education, you know, it's just one step at a time. Get
Yeah.
really good at one thing. And that's add on stacks is what I'm always saying. Stack it, stack it, stack it. What's next? What's next? Having, you know, 10 things to focus on and one step at a time always ensures that you have a goal ahead and that you're
Yeah.
nurturing the outcome that you desire.
Bruce Lee said that he was never afraid of a man that knew 10,000 kicks, right?
Uh-huh.
He was
Uh-huh.
afraid of a man that threw one kick
Ooh,
10,000 times.
hell yeah.
Because think of the muscle memory, right? Think of the
That's
strength
right.
and everything that comes from your
Mhm,
quads, your hammies, all of that stuff, the
mhm,
snap. He understood that that's a person that's going to be truly skilled in that one thing. And regardless
mm,
of the skill you have, they're going to catch you every single time. Same is true
yeah.
with dealers. The more that you focus on being good at just the one thing at one time,
Mhm,
you'll always have it. No one can take it from you. then you can focus on doing the same thing, replicating it with these other facets.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, you really, I've been really trying to focus on just a few things myself, but I find myself on these episodes going the distance because it's so interesting when you have a subject matter expert, you have somebody in front of you that sees endless problems. And my job is always to try to find solutions to them. I want to hear more, but I think you've given us enough to chew on today.
Got you. But remember, it's never problems. It's always opportunities.
Woo!
Always opportunities.
Love what you're giving. That's very positive. And I've really enjoyed your positive approach to being here to support the industry and sharing some of the things that you've seen out there, some of the biggest challenges out there, and giving us some real tangible solutions to go into a new year. And look, this should be an initiative. The phones is where everybody is calling your dealership. This is the first impression. And whether it's your service or your sales team, everybody is calling the store. It's not like people will be like, oh yeah, let's go shopping for a car. Oh, let's just pop into the store and see if they have any service appointments open. Like that's no one's doing any of that.
Nope.
And so, I think a lot of my best clients, they always try to pop into a new year with at least 1 to 3 big initiatives for their organization. This is one of them. I mean, you couldn't have picked a better time to share some insights with us as we rethink our selling strategies going into a new year. There's a lot to tackle here, and it's endless. And it's all the time. So we could baby step this one.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, there's gonna be plenty of angles to tackle to make money and to improve loyal customers. And that's the name of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me again. I really do appreciate it.
If you like these episodes and my sales game techniques, you should snatch up our latest dealer education program I'm hosting. It's called Jen's Remote Classes, and it's a 1-hour, once-a-week class with me alongside other dealerships all pursuing the same end game to achieve top 10% status in your dealership. For more info, hit me up. All my contact info's in the show notes. I want to hear from you. And follow Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki right now to get notified when episodes like this one drop. This is Jen on the podcast Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. See ya!